Alright, so welcome to lesson 3 and let's get started. Let's look at what is a wireframe and why it is super important. So wireframe is also known as a page schematic or screen blueprint. It is a visual guide that represents the skeletal framework of a website. So the term wireframe is taken from other fields of profession that use a skeletal framework to represent three-dimension shapes and volumes. And that's architecture, construction workers that kind of works with blueprints and those type of things. So here are examples of a wireframe. As you can see, this one's a little blurry, but as you can see, there's not much going on except some captions or words that just kind of talks about what the content is, but this kind of guides the designer to see how the structure of the page will look like, which is what we're going to be doing for this lesson. So first we're going to set up our environment. We will use a website called whimsical.com for all of our wireframe projects. There won't be that many going on throughout our curriculum. This will be a warm-up practice for lesson 3, and afterwards, when we're doing only projects with CSS, then we will start using Whimsical. So you will first go to whimsical.com and then you'll click sign up on top right corner if you do not have an account, which probably none of you guys have it. And I would recommend you to sign up with Google if you have the Google account. If not, you can just do sign up with email. And then once you complete your sign up steps, you will see the dashboard and you will want to click the wireframe button and go ahead and create that wireframe, and then you can name your project, example, or project 1, however you want to name it. Alright, so we're going to look over some of the wireframe tools and their functionality. So for wireframes, we're going to explore mostly the add element, the first one. So when you are in a project space, when you open up a project, you'll see like a bar on the left side, which is what we're going to talk about right here. So when you hover over the first button, which is add element, these things will show up. So either you can add a rectangle, a button, link, divider, annotations, drop-down menus, slide bar, all these type of things that we can add to our website. So now the best way to exercise wireframing is obviously trying to replicate a website. So that's what we're going to do. So you can follow along, pause if you need. So we're going to recreate our CCA website and go ahead and download a picture into your workspace. So the link to this picture, you can find it in Google Classroom under the lesson 3 materials, or you can find it in the link in our description in this video. So once you have that image downloaded, you'll want to import that image into your workspace. So basically you can just drag and drop into your workspace and then put it on the left hand side of your first window. And this will be a very easy reference that we want to recreate, and you can see the thing that you want to create on the left side of your workspace. So the CCA website, the homepage, is split into 5 major areas. The first one is the header. It has the header that kind of includes navigation bar as well. So the header is a place where We can provide consistency and establish the brand and allow easy navigation. So you can see the logo, the text, tagline, the buttons, and also the navigation bar. So go ahead and wireframe the header of the website. The elements need not to be super detailed. It just need to take up the accurate spacing on your design. Accurate spacing can allow us to see how cluttered the page is and make adjustments depending on the result. So this is an example of a wireframe that I created. The navigation bar, I kind of just make it there. I didn't create like individual buttons just because it's not really needed. We just want to see how big the navigation bar is. For the logo, I kind of put like an image element, and then I put text to actually type out the text to see the length. And then for each buttons, I I labeled them, but you don't have to. You kind of just take up the space that you need. And then for the search button, I didn't put or label anything. I kind of just take up the space that it requires to take up on the page. And then when you're designing, you can easily see how big of a space that you want to take up for that button. So that's the header. Now we're going to move on to the blue portion, which is the cover image. So the cover image, the wireframing is pretty straightforward, but the cover image itself, the purpose of cover image is super important. Basically catches your user's attention and create a lasting impression. So you can go ahead and just create or add a image element to underneath your navigation bar and put it, drag it to kind of like make it to full screen, and you're ready to go. So then now you have the quick link section. This quick link section is also important. It allows users to complete common actions. So as you can see for CCA's website, if you visit the website, you mostly are likely to visit the daily bulletin, you want to find your teachers, you want to access Aries, or you want to see the calendar. I think the calendar is the most important one. So this is a wireframe that I created, so you can go ahead and replicate this as well. This is the version that I have. So basically I have the circular button or icon, and then put a little just text below to see or show the designer that, okay, I'm going to put a text below. And obviously, again, the purpose of buttons is to take up accurate spacing, so you don't have to really label anything. You just have to show that the buttons are this far apart and this big. Now moving on to announcement posts. This is more of a structure that a lot of websites use. So the announcement post section generally just keeps user up to date for the recent news and can be blog posts, etc. So the announcement section of CCA, it's kind of taking up a 70% of the screen. So I didn't show this here, but the announcement section itself will look something like this. But if you're looking at the whole page, then there will be some more spaces on the right side, and I'll show you here. So you can see is pretty much like 70% of the page, and then upcoming events is another 30. So on your design, the announcement section should be right on the left hand side, 70%, and then we will create the upcoming section later. So yeah, again, I taken a kind of frame thing element and then put it around, and then I use a image element here. For the text, you can see it's a kind of like a random text situation. If you scroll all the way down to the element section column options, there is a lorem text element that you can pick from, and that you can generate just random text and then put it in there, just kind of as a placeholder, and you can see like the space that it will take up. All right, and the last one is the upcoming events. The upcoming events, I take like a similar layout as to the announcement. Wait. Okay, the upcoming events, I didn't update this, but pretty much similar to announcement section. You want to have like a little circle and then title and then subtitle for the side. Alright, so now we're going to talk over some laws of wireframing and some do's and don'ts. First, you don't want to use color. Color is very powerful. Like in English classes, you explore imagery, how colors can really add elements, layers to a literature. So obviously, color has its powers, and so in the wireframing, it can be very powerfully distracting. So, like the design or the wireframe that show in this picture, you can see there is no color except some colored in blocks, but that is just the kind of like the buttons or something like that. Overall, there's no colors. It's pretty much just layouting the structure of the website, and that is what wireframe is for. So focus on the conversation of the layout, not the visual design, which will come later. By coming later, we mean the visual design will come later. So consistency is key. Your wireframe are only meant to display layout, again, just to reiterate, and the overall user experience. So be consistent if you are doing digitally. Obviously, be consistent with typography. You don't need like Comic Sans and then Arial and then Times New Roman here and there. You don't need to do that. If you want to commit to one typography, so Arial font, then you can just use Arial fonts throughout. The designer will determine, so the designer is you, obviously later in the future, but you will design the fonts later on, so you don't need to show that in wireframe. You just have to show the spacing that it will take up and maybe the content that you will display. But usually the content will just be placeholders, and then we can determine the content later. So again, we'll repeat but only show necessary details. It's natural to focus on small details when you're designing stuff, but when you're wireframing, don't get hung up on things that can be decided later. Just kind of very whimsically, that's what the website, why the website's called whimsical, whimsically kind of just randomly, not randomly, but um, just kind of roughly sketch out the layout of your site, and yeah, that is all what wireframe is for. And wireframing, creating a layout for your site is so important. That's why we're going over this. And yeah. So lastly, we're gonna just go over or show you some of the more examples and how you want to make your wireframe to look like. So this is a drawing, this hand-drawn wireframe that a designer may choose to do. It's very simple. You can see it's taking up, obviously this is on phone, so you can see like the text, how the text, so you can see right away that this block of text is it's going to take up 50% of the screen, this picture as well, and each of these will take up 33.33% of the screen, and then this will take up almost full size of the screen. If you're doing on Whimsical, this is a very similar platform. Not sure what this is, but it's very similar to a Whimsical, and you can actually achieve this same exact layout on Whimsical. You just need to put in more work, and this is more detailed. Obviously, the site itself is more detailed than this one. And you can see that there's a timeline going on. There's a map. The map, it's kind of like a picture, captured picture, so it's very detailed just because it's a picture. In wireframe, I would suggest you to just put a rectangle in the background and just label it as map, and so that it's not that like cluttery, confusing. But the very focus of the page of this map page is the layout of this card here. So you can see the buttons, the circles, and then it goes with other pages as well. You can see just the buttons that it's taking up spaces, and then same goes as this example here. You can see spaces it's going to take up. For this one, it's very unique. This kind of slideshow element, it's taking up half and half of the body and the header or the cover image. So that is what you want to show on your wireframe. And there's no content is being displayed. You can just use simple thin rectangles to represent your words. And then also for this simpler layout. And yeah, so thank you guys for listening. We're gonna go ahead and use this skill. We're gonna apply the skill to later on when we will develop more advanced websites with more layouts, and see you guys soon.